Okay, business algebra. Let's do 3.3. It's pretty easy mathematically. It's linear applications. They primarily use it as a place to introduce concepts where the math isn't hard that we will then use in 3.4. So revenue is price per item times number of items. Cost is the sum of the fixed costs and variable costs, and profit is revenue minus cost. You may already know those things. Well, let's see how they apply in problems. An anti-clot drug can be made for $10 per unit. The total cost to produce 100 units is $1,500. Find the general equation for the cost of producing X units and determine the fixed costs, and talk about average cost per unit generally. So generally speaking, the cost function is going to equal our fixed costs plus our variable costs times X. Now we know it costs $1,500 to produce 100 units, and we know that the variable cost is 10 because that's how much it costs per unit. So it's 1,500 equals the fixed costs plus 1,000. Which means the fixed costs by subtracting 1,000. Fixed costs are 500. So then we can take that and plug into our general formula. The cost function is equal to 500 plus, we know it's 10 times however many units we produce, X. So that will work for any X. Now, generally speaking, when you have fixed costs, average cost goes down as you increase units for a linear equation. Why? Because the more units you produce, the more this 500 gets dispersed, divided into the other units. For example, if you produce 1 unit, you spent $500 to produce 1 unit, which isn't much. But if you produce 500 units, then you've spent only $11 per unit, which is a lot less than $510 per unit. Rate of change for a linear function. Rate of change is the same as slope. You guys know slope is rise over run, or change in y over change in x. According to Kelley Blue Book, a Honda Civic that is worth $24,535 today will be worth $17,020 in 3 years. If, assuming linear depreciation, find the depreciation per year and use it to determine what the car will be worth in 7 years. Okay, so currently after 0 years, it's worth $24,535. In 3 years, it'll be worth $17,020. Let's find slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, so 17,020 minus 24,535 over 3 minus 0. That is negative 7,515 over 3, or negative 2,505. Now, it wants to know what that is going to be worth in 3 years. So the function for the car, we'll call it the value function, is its current value, 24,535, minus that 2,505 times x, where x is the number of years. So it wants to know what that value is after 7 years. So 2,505 times 7 is 17,535. And when you subtract those, that's a nice, convenient 535 for both of these. That is $7,000. Okay, so other concepts that they're introducing. Marginal cost is, again, another way of saying rate of change, but marginal cost normally is the cost to produce 1 additional unit. For a linear, the cost of producing units is always the same, so it doesn't matter. So an electronic company manufactures tablets. The cost and revenue functions are given. Find the marginal cost and revenue after 5 tablets have been produced and sold. So normally what you would do is you would look at the cost of 501 units versus the cost of 500 units to see how much the cost increased. Same with revenue. And we'll do that when it actually matters. However, in the case for linears, marginal cost and revenue is just the slope. Which means you don't have to plug it in. What that means is the cost for every unit here is 80 because it's multiplied. It's the coefficient for x. So the marginal cost is $80 regardless of the number of units. The marginal revenue is $200. But normally you would plug in 501 versus 500 if it were anything but linear. Break-even point is when revenue equals cost and profit is therefore 0. So same problem almost, slightly different equation. Find the break-even point and find the profit when they produce and sell 500 tablets. So to find the break-even point, you set the two equations equal to each other. 80x plus 24,000 equals 200x. Subtract 80x. Get 24,000 equals 120x. Divide by 120. That would be, I think, 200. So at 200 units, they'll make all their money back. So now it wants to find the profit when they sell 500 tablets. Now a reminder, the profit function is revenue minus cost. 200 minus 80x is 120x minus 24,000 from here. Now just plug in 500. 120 times 500 minus 24,000. This is 60,000 minus 24,000, which is $36,000. Lastly, supply and demand. These represent the quantity of an item that are produced and purchased. Let's talk about equilibrium. Equilibrium occurs when the exact amount produced and sold or supplied and demanded are the same. And this is determined by price level. And now price level is adjusted based on basically the price adjusts supply and demand. The reason for that is if you are a producer, the higher the price of a good, the more you want to produce it and sell it because you can make more profit. For the consumer, the lower the price of the good, the more you demand because people will buy things cheaper. Just think about the iPhone. The iPhone price goes down to sell more. Once they've sold out everyone who will buy it at $1,200, they're like, oh, now it's at $1,000 and more people will buy it. So they can get more sales by lowering the price because more people will buy it at that new price. So let's talk about things you might do. The supply and demand curves are given for an aluminum siding are given below, where P is price and Q is quantity demanded or supplied in thousands. Answer the following questions. We'll do A and then move to the next video. Find the quantity demanded at the price of $40 per unit. So quantity demanded when price is 40. So we say 40 equals 60 minus 0.75Q. Subtract 60. Negative 20 equals negative 0.75Q. Divide by negative 0.75. This is dividing by 3/4, so it's multiplying by 4/3. It ends up being about negative 26.67 or positive 26.67. So this represents 26.67 thousand. And we'll move to the next video.